The Metropolitan Police has urged victims of sexual assault to come forward no matter how long ago it happened. The Times is reporting this morning that more women are coming forward to them after its joint investigation into sexual assault allegations against Russell Brand, which he denies. Well, let's talk now to Caroline Nokes. She's chair of the Women and Equalities Committee. What's your reaction, Caroline, to these allegations that have been made against Russell Brand?
Well, I think very clearly there needs to be a criminal investigation. In order for that to happen, these poor victims need to be supported and encouraged and empowered to go to the police and taken through a process that needs to be supportive of them. Over the course of the last 36 hours, we've seen far too much victim blaming and shaming of individuals who need to be supported at the current time and not criticised.
So do you think that that is why perhaps these women feel more comfortable talking to journalists and newspapers rather than the police?
Well, I think there's a real anxiety about going to the police. Questions that still linger over the appalling incidents at things like Charing Cross Police Station when there was very obvious misogyny in the Metropolitan Police. So victims are reluctant to speak out. And they need to be supported through the process. It's why that there are specialists now who are able to do that. But I think what we've seen over the course of the last 2 days is more victims coming forward. And there certainly is a sense of strength in numbers. Women who hadn't previously been brave enough to make allegations against a very powerful and influential individual are now feeling brave enough to do so. And to be frank, that's a good thing.
But do you not have any concerns or discomfort about the fact that this is, in essence, a trial by the media, not the UK's judicial system? And, you know, there are a lot of people who are questioning whether it's right that these crimes, alleged crimes, have been reported openly without there being any actual criminal charges.
Well, that's why I absolutely started this interview by saying that we needed these victims to come forward to the police. We need this to be investigated both sides of the Atlantic, both by the Metropolitan Police and in Los Angeles. We need there to be a proper process. And these are serious allegations. These are criminal allegations of rape, of sexual assault, an allegation that sounds incredibly like grooming. And there will have been witnesses to all of that. And unfortunately, powerful men, and it usually is men, tend to be surrounded by a wall of silence, by people who protect them, or by people who are quite frankly scared to speak out themselves because their jobs are reliant on that individual. And what we have to see, I think, in this instance, is a proper criminal investigation. We need to get to the bottom of these allegations, and there needs to be a judicial process.
Do you think that there are bigger questions too for the entertainment industry? Does that have a problem with protecting people who may be committing crimes?
Well, look, I think misogyny, sexual harassment and abuse is still widespread in many sectors. The entertainment industry specifically frequently runs on freelance contracts, the self-employed, and certainly my committee at the moment is conducting an inquiry into misogyny in the music industry. And the single message that we have had from women artists, from production crew, from sound technicians is that they're freelance and therefore they are reliant upon very powerful individuals for their next job. And that leads them to being too afraid to speak out, too afraid to be seen as the difficult woman because they're reliant on these individuals for their income. And I think that's a huge problem for the entertainment sector generally.
It's part of the problem as well, and I suppose I'm looking at comedy here in particular and that kind of light entertainment industry, that it's all fun, isn't it? It's a very different job to the kind of job where you go into an office, you sit at a desk and you work for 9 hours or whatever. That sense of fun, that sense of we're breaking the mould a little bit, allows people to behave in ways that they just wouldn't behave in normal society, and that has been ignored and tolerated for far too long.
Sexual abuse is never fun. And that's the stark reality. And so-called comedians thinking that they can get away with sexually abusing either people who work for them or people who they've been in relationships with for fun. That's not entertainment, it's abuse.
What do you think Parliament can do to further protect women and girls?
Look, I think, as I said, my committee is currently midway through an inquiry looking at misogyny in sport, misogyny in the music industry, and there clearly will have to be recommendations to government as to how we can better protect, how we can look after women and girls, how we can tackle the cultures of misogyny. But I know that the DCMS Select Committee has also summoned television bosses in front of them over previous incidents. I have no doubt that in due course they will be inviting both Channel 4, the BBC, and no doubt the production companies, because their hands are not clean in this. None of these organisations appear to have effective whistleblowing policies that enable and empower victims to report with confidence, knowing that their concerns, their complaints will be investigated. And I think, as the Foreign Secretary said yesterday, there are questions that need to be answered by the broadcasters.
But Russell Brand denies all of these charges against him, and others have looked at what these allegations are, and also pointed out that perhaps we're looking at his behaviour. A lot of it, the public behaviour, certainly that we know happened, that we saw on film, was 20 years ago, and a great deal has changed in 20 years, hasn't it, in terms of how people behave or are allowed to behave, certainly at work and in society and in all sorts of environments. Do you think things are better now in the broadcasting industry than they were 20 years ago, or do you think they're just the same?
I'd like to say that I thought that they were better, but broadcasting and the media's hands are not clean on this. And that's the stark reality, is that I am conscious that this could still very easily happen today. And to be quite frank, we can't try and whitewash this through the lens of history. Russell Brand has faced some serious allegations in the media, and I think it's absolutely crucial that those are brought to the police, that a criminal investigation takes place, and that we get to the bottom of them. But I don't think we can excuse sexual harassment and sexual abuse just because it happened a long time ago.